You know, they say a week is a long time in politics. But what about when you get a literal fire hose of official communications from the White House in just a few days? It's a lot. So let's try to make sense of it all. So, just to give you a sense of the scale here, we're talking about just 1 week, from September 2nd to the 5th. And in that time, over 20 major announcements, 4 executive orders. I mean, that is just a dizzying pace for any administration. So all that activity really begs the question, right? What does this flurry of announcements actually tell us about what the administration is focused on? Well, to get a handle on it, we're going to break it all down into 3 key pillars. All right, let's get into the first big theme that really jumps out from all this. And that's a major effort to reshape America's economy and its trade relationships around the world. And this first pillar kicks off with a really massive number. Look at this, $550 billion. That's the headline figure from a new framework agreement with Japan, a commitment for them to invest that much money right here into critical U.S. industries. Okay, so what does that deal actually look like? Well, this table gives us the highlights. On one side, you see what the U.S. gets, things like over $15 billion in new market access, and on the other, Japan's commitments, like buying billions in U.S. agriculture and energy, plus that huge investment number we just saw. The administration's whole argument here is that this is all about rebalancing the trade relationship. Okay, so that's a specific deal with one country, but what about the bigger picture? Well, the administration also pointed to this number, $158 billion. That's how much tariff revenue they've collected just this year, and they're definitely framing it as a record breaker. And to put that into perspective, just look at the difference here. This year's $158 billion is more than 2.5 times the $63 billion they brought in over the same period last year. That's not just a small increase, that's a huge jump. Now, the big question with tariffs is always, does this make things more expensive for me? And the White House has an answer for that. Their argument is, no, this strategy isn't driving up prices here at home. They point to a core goods inflation rate of just 1.2% as proof that it's working without hurting your wallet. All right, that covers the economy. Let's shift gears to the second pillar that emerged this week. And this one is all about projecting American strength abroad. We're talking national security, foreign policy, the whole 9 yards. You know, sometimes a name change can say a lot. And one of the most interesting moves this week was an executive order that brought back the historic name Department of War as a secondary title for the Department of Defense. The thinking here, according to the White House, is to send a stronger message. It's not just about defense, it's about readiness and resolve. Then there was another executive order, this one creating a brand new playbook for when American citizens are wrongfully detained by other countries. It's a really clear 3-step process. First, you can officially designate a country as a state sponsor of wrongful detention. Then, you can respond with some serious tools, like sanctions. And finally, there's a way to terminate that designation if the Americans are released. And this new policy isn't happening in a vacuum. The administration is using it to build on what they say is a successful track record. They announced that 72 detained Americans have been brought home since they took office, and they pointed to specific examples, people released from Russia, by Hamas, by the Taliban, to show that their approach gets results. Switching to border security, the administration put out a really dramatic number. They're reporting a 97% decrease in northward migration from Central American countries just this year. For them, a number like that is a key indicator, proof that their policies are working exactly as intended. All right, we've covered the economy and foreign policy. The third and final pillar from this busy week brings the focus back home. We're talking about a whole range of domestic initiatives, everything from healthcare and technology to your personal finances. So a big theme on the domestic front was this initiative called Make America Healthy Again. Think of it as an umbrella for a bunch of different health-related things. This week, it covered awareness campaigns for childhood, ovarian, and prostate cancer, but it also included a massive $44 billion investment to fight drug and alcohol addiction. From health, let's jump over to technology. The First Lady held a task force meeting on AI education, and this quote from her really captures the administration's whole philosophy on it. The idea is that AI is in its early stages, its primitive stage, and we have to treat it like a child, empower it, but with watchful guidance. Now let's talk personal finance. The White House was really pushing this new savings plan for kids called Trump accounts, and here's the baseline scenario they presented. Even if nobody contributes another dime, just based on the initial deposit, that account could still grow to over $18,000 by the time the child turns 28. But, and this is a big but, look what happens when you factor in maximum contributions from parents and employers. According to the same estimates, that account could potentially balloon to over $1 million. It's a pretty incredible contrast, and it's clearly designed to show just how powerful they think this program could be. Okay, so we've looked at trade, foreign policy, and domestic stuff. They feel like separate things, right? So how does the administration pull it all together? What's the bottom line for them? Well, they point to this number, 55%. A White House communication this week highlighted a new approval rating, calling it an all-time high. For them, this is the proof. They see it as a direct public endorsement of everything they're doing. So when you step back and look at the whole week, you can see how it all fits together, at least from their perspective. All these different pieces, the trade deals, the military rebranding, the health initiatives, all of it, they aren't random. They're meant to paint a single, coherent picture of this administration's agenda in action. And that's pretty much our snapshot of one very busy week. You can see how this sheer volume of action touches almost every part of American life, which, leaves us with one big question to think about. What really is the long-term impact when an administration moves this fast on this many things all at the same time?